What's up, guys? We are live for UFC 230. We got DC, the GOAT. I mean, some people say he's the GOAT, but he's really good, versus Derek Lewis, the Black Beast. And tonight, five fans, we got Kelton, MMA Kelton on, like always. And also, we got a special guest. We got MMA Prediction Guru. And I'm going to kind of copycat what Kelton always does on his roundtables. But, Guru, how are you? And what are your favorite fights in this card? What's your favorite fight in this card?
Yeah, man. First, I just want to say thanks for inviting me on again. This is the second time I've been on here now. The first time I've been talking to Justin, so that's pretty cool. You know, I talked to him on Twitter and shit, so I'm finally starting to talk to people with, like, real life. You know, first Kelton and Kyle, now Justin. So, but, you know, I don't know. I really like the Montel Jackson fight against Brian Kelleher. I think that's a really fun fight. And then, you know, I also think Kurt Holobaugh versus Shane Burgos could be a potential fight of the night as well. So.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you, Kelton?
Man, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be talking these fights. We got an awesome card. It's Madison Square Garden. It seems like every time the UFC goes to Madison Square Garden, something special happens. And although I'm not picking many underdogs to win on this card, I mean, it's going to be mostly favorites winning, in my opinion. I think we're still in for a very special night here, even with mostly favorites winning. That's how I see it. But I think we're in for a good night of fights. And as for the card, Jack Guru, he hit on it, man. Holobaugh versus Burgos. That's a really, really good fight. There was one other one I was looking at that's going to be really fight. Roberson versus Marshman. I have a hard time seeing that fight being boring. But fun night of fights.
Yeah, a lot of people are kind of like talking crap on this card, but I mean, I like it. Like, I only have one play, but I mean, I do like the card a lot, especially for DraftKings as well. And before we talk about the card, let's talk about, you know, we have to talk about, you know, the last card. Yeah, so Volkan, you know, I mean, I don't know if I'm ever going to bet him again, and we'll see who he fights, but, I mean, his gas tank is not good at all, and he quit. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, what do you guys think about the fight? I was pretty mad about it, but, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I thought that, like, Volkan, like, I thought Anthony Smith's game plan was a little weird early. Like, he was letting Volkan, like, gas himself out, but I thought he was letting him, like, be too close to him. Like, he was getting too vulnerable with it. I don't know. I think someone probably got in Volkan's head about gassing out or something, because he didn't go for it in the first round like he did in other fights. And I think, you know, if he really did, he maybe could have finished Anthony Smith early the way that he was fighting. But then when it started to get to the later rounds, you know, seems like Volkan, like you said, just he's kind of mentally weak when it gets tough. You know, he finds his way out. So that's kind of what ended up happening. And Anthony Smith got a big win. So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a really, really interesting stylistic matchup. I think we kind of knew that we got this guy Volkan, who's arguably the hardest hitter in the division, and then you got Anthony Smith, who has been knocked out like 8, 9 times, one of the most hittable guys in the division. But then on the same side, you got a guy who seems to really digress as the fight goes on. Like, once it hits those later rounds, he's just not as good as he is early. And then on the other side, you got Anthony Smith, who gets way better as the fight goes on. So it was just a really interesting stylistic matchup. We all kind of thought that it was just a foregone conclusion that Volkan would go and knock out Anthony Smith in the first round. But Anthony Smith, he's a tough motherfucker, man. So props to him for hanging in there. And I don't know, maybe Volkan's not who we thought he was. Maybe he just doesn't have that well-rounded game. I still think he can knock some other. I mean, he still knocked out Jamie Manama and Misha Cirkunov.
Yeah.
Volkan Oezdemir is still going to win fights in the UFC, but Anthony Smith is, I mean, in a shallow division, he's the top 10 player. So I'm interested to see where both guys go from here.
I still think Jan would beat both of them. I think Jan would beat Volkan. I think Jan would beat Smith. Smith's never going to beat Gus. He's never going to beat John Jones, DC. I think, you know, go ahead.
yeah, I was just saying, I don't think so either. I mean, you saw how tired Anthony Smith was too after the fight. You know, like he was like taking a nap at the octagon. So I don't think he could contend with, you know, like the pressure of like a John Jones or DC, someone like that. I think you know, he's a fun story though. You know what I mean? It's cool to see someone that, you know, started their career so shaky and they're able to, like, you know, pick it up, you know, later on in their career and kind of make a title run. You know, it's pretty cool. But
yeah, I mean, he's been finished so many times, but I mean, his records in, I think, his last 10 fights is really good. I think Dom Race would probably beat him. But one more thing I want to talk about it is I think he called it, man. Like Volkan going the TriStar, I think that kind of like messed up his game because he just didn't look like he did not look like the same Volkan that like like blitzes and like he just looked so calm out. Or not calm, just like tentative. I don't know. So I think Smith called that when he said it's not going to work for Volkan going the TriStar the last 2 weeks. I don't know. Once I heard that, I was kind of like skeptical, but I mean, I think it showed him the fight.
I feel like he was trying extra hard not to gas out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it was like the first round. If he would have went like the first round against he did against OSP, I think he could have finished it in the first round. I really do because Anthony Smith was like he had a weird game plan early where he was letting Volkan like hit him. It seemed like it was kind of I don't know. It really seemed like Volkan just kind of dropped the ball there. But
yeah, is there any other fights you guys want to talk about? Or do you guys want to dive into this card?
Yeah. I mean, there was a couple gems on the card. Misha Serkinov had arguably the most flawless performance of the night. I know it was against Pat Cummins, but I just thought that was a nice bounce back for Misha. He's a really, really talented, strong grappler. He's like a physical specimen for that division. As for the prelims, shout out to you, Justin. You cashed on Sean Strickland. He knocked out Nordine Taleb. I don't think many people picked a knockout victory for Sean Strickland. So props to you on that one. And then And then last one, how can we not shout out Don Madge for his performance against Tay Edwards? That was a brutal head kick, arguably knockout of the year contender, upset of the year contender. So props to Don Madge.
Yeah, I was talking to Guru about it. Like maybe they should give him Tamer because I mean that was the fight that's supposed to happen. But Tamer is like Tamer should be getting a top 15 guy. So maybe they shouldn't make that fight. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a risky fight for David Tamer for sure. I mean, he wouldn't really have much to gain from that,
No.
If he took it and won that one, I mean, you couldn't really deny him a top 15 matchup after that. But
he should be he should be fighting either Gregor or like a top 15 guy. I don't know why they're not giving him like the top guys. Tamer's legit.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, so let's talk about this first fight. And wow, we got a very good fight. I'm pretty sure it is. Check. Yeah, so we got Adam Wieczorek versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima in the heavyweight division, and I'll let Kelton start off with this one.
Man, this is a fun fight. Basically, a striker versus grappler for the most part. We haven't seen de Lima in a very, very long time. I want to say the last time was against our friend OSP, and he got Von Flood there. Pretty interesting. Now he's moving up to heavyweight against Adam Wieczorek. Now, Adam is 2-0 in the UFC, possibly the worst 2-0 heavyweight on the roster, if we're being honest here. He's got a lot of flaws defensively on the feet. I think de Lima has a very big advantage on the feet, and the thing is with him, though, is that gas tank, that heart. He's kind of like a first-round finisher, bust guy. I give him like 3 minutes to win this fight by knockout. I don't think he's going to sub Adam just because I think Adam has a pretty decent grappling advantage. But I think de Lima, he should come out hot here, do what he's best at, go for the knockout, fucking balls blazing at this guy. Just go for it, man. And he's probably going to get it because Adam is he's a low-level heavyweight, if we're being honest. But if it does go past that 3-4 minute mark, Rogerio starts tiring out a little bit. Adam might get the better of him on the feet. He might knock him out. I mean, these are big guys that both hit hard as fuck. But more than likely, I think if it goes past that first round, Adam's probably going to land a takedown, try to avoid the power shots, and he'll sub Rogerio if it hits the mat in the later rounds. But I honestly think the underdog is the most likely to win here. I'm going to go with Rogerio by a first-round knockout. I just don't think too highly of Adam striking. Defensively, he just won't have the tools to be able to overcome the storm of de Lima. So I'm going to go with the underdog de Lima. I didn't bet him, although I do think there might be some value on him winning in round one. But it's just a pass for me altogether. But I will go with the dog via first-round knockout. What about you, man? Good.
Yeah, man, I actually did put 1 unit bet on Rogerio de Lima, so I kind of agree with what Kelton's saying. One thing that I really think Rogerio de Lima should that he could exploit is those leg kicks. Man, you saw those leg kicks he had against OSP. He was really chopping down OSP's. I mean, I thought he dominated the first round against OSP. If you really go back and look at it, I mean, even though I think he was 210 pounds or something for that fight, so he had a bit of an advantage there, but. You know, he had a great first round against OSP, and I mean, OSP is a much more dangerous, in my opinion, even though he's a light heavyweight striker than Adam even is. So I think that Rogerio should come out hard, and you know, I think if Adam does that flopping to his back early, where he like he does in other fights, I think Rogerio might be able to get in his guard and finish him. So, you know, I took the shot on Rogerio when it opened at plus 300, and I think that's a ton of value on him. So, you know, I went with Rogerio Delima by a first round KO. So.
Yeah, so I guess I'm completing the trifecta because I'm actually not picking a lot of dogs in this card, but this is definitely one of the dogs that I'm picking. I mean, you guys said everything. I mean, Delima, I think, is going to be better at heavyweight because, I mean, he used to fight heavyweight anyways. He's a big guy. We'll see how his cardio is. I mean, Kelton kind of said it like right in the chin. If this goes in the second round, I think Adam's going to win the fight. But Adam gets hit a lot, man. I mean, he's a durable guy. He's never been finished. I think the only person he's lost is Tybura, who's, you know, whatever. Tybura is like I don't know. Tybura is never going to be in the top 10. Okay, top 5. But, yeah, I can talk about Tybura for a while because that guy's an idiot. But anyways, yeah, Delima's a really good striker, man. I mean, I know he gasses and stuff, but he's a big striker. I think he might be the better striker here. But Adams, you know, a tough guy. He has good grappling, good jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's his best game, the subs. Kind of like the submission against Arjun. I mean, Arjun was winning the whole fight, and, you know, got that sub. But, yeah, I agree with you guys. I think Delima's going to get a first-round knockout here. But if he gets in the second round, it's going to get super hairy. But, yeah, I'll go with Delima. So, next fight, we got Brian Kelleher versus Montel Jackson. And I know both of you guys are big on one guy, so I'll let Guru go first.
Yeah, man. You know, like I'm you know, pretty deep on Montel Jackson for this card. I bet you know, probably about 8 units on him, so it's one of my bigger bets for the year. And I got him at a good price. You know, I got the opener at plus 140, and then put some more at minus 110. So I don't know if I would have done that at the current line where he's like minus 150, but you know, I don't know. I just think that Brian Kelleher is coming back for one really fast from that fight he had against John Lineker, where he took a lot of damage. You know, Lineker landed 102 shots on Kelleher and eventually knocked him out cold. So, you know, that has to be accounted for. And then Montel Jackson, I mean, he's taking this fight on short notice, but he just fought 2 months ago against a guy in Ricky Simone that, you know, in my opinion, has some of the best cardio and pressure in that division. And I thought he held up really well. You know, I thought he fought really well, even in the third round. I thought he was kind of dominating the round on the feet until Simone caught some good takedowns. He was able to take the back, you know, but Jackson showed a lot of good things in that fight. And I just think Brian Kelleher, you know, he's only 4 for 14 on takedowns in his UFC career. And I watched this fight against Marlon Vera, and when he went for a lot of takedowns in that fight, he definitely started to gas himself out early. And I saw that he was exposing his head to a lot of elbows as well. So I just think that you know, I think Montel Jackson's going to finish it, man. I think he's going to keep it at range early. I think Kelleher's going to start to get desperate, close the distance. And I think that Montel Jackson's actually going to finish him with elbows to the head when he's going for a takedown. So I'm going with Montel Jackson by late second round TKO.
What about you, Kelton?
Yeah, man, I tend to agree with everything that Jack just said. Montel Jackson is a serious dude. There's a lot of people were comparing him to John Jones's last fight. I think maybe pump the brakes on that a little bit, but I definitely get it. He has a really good wrestling base. He's a tall, lanky dude. I mean, his freaking reach advantage. I mean, he has 11.5-inch reach advantage here against Brian Kelleher. The dude is huge for bantamweight for sure. He's got that wrestling base. He's a really sharp striker. It's just a matter of, is the guy ready for a Brian Kelleher level guy at this point? You know, he just went pro in 2017. But the thing is, even in a loss, I was impressed with Montel Jackson in his last fight against Ricky Simone. I think he showed some good stuff there. I mean, guys, that's a huge step up. I don't know about y'all, but I really rate Ricky Simone in that top 15, even in the UFC's bantamweight division. Like Guru said, Simone brings a serious kind of pressure. And that's what it takes to beat a guy like Montel Jackson, who's super young in his fighting career. It's just going to take that kind of pressure. And, of course, experience is going to go a long way against a guy like that. And, you know, Ricky Simone got the job done. But I do think this is a step below Ricky Simone. Brian Kelleher brings some different things to the table for sure. But I don't know if he brings the kind of style that beats Montel. I think When it comes to the striking, yeah, he was able to go out there and outstrike the ghost of Barao, but I don't know. I didn't see anything too impressive. Kelleher, he's a little bit of a journeyman to me. I don't think he'll be in the top 15 much longer. I'm not sure what he's ranked right now, but who knows? Maybe this fight's the one to bump him out of it. But I can name a lot of guys that will beat Brian Kelleher, and I can tell you Montel Jackson has a way higher ceiling than Brian Kelleher for sure. It's just a matter of whether he's ready. And I think based on what I saw versus Ricky Simone, and now we have a way better stylistic matchup. Like Guru said, Kelleher is not exactly the great takedown, some great takedown expert. So I doubt he's going to be able to get Montel to the mat. I think really what he has to do is he has to pressure him with the striking and try to get on the inside and knock his ass out. And I don't think that's going to happen, man. I mean, obviously knockouts are super low percentage at bantamweight, firstly. And I think Brian is going to be eating like 3 or 4 shots for every one he lands. I mean, I think that reach advantage is too much, and I think the striking advantage will be too much for Montel Jackson. That's gonna make the difference in the fight. And I think it's knockout or guillotine for Kelleher, or else he's going to lose this fight. I'll give Kelleher the benefit of the doubt. I'll say Montel Jackson 30-27 unanimous decision, but I think it's such a big striking gap that I wouldn't be surprised with the knockout. So I'm definitely confident in Montel, though. I got 6.5 units on him. What about you, Justin?
Yeah, so before I talk about my prediction, I want to say that I hope you guys cash because I'm not playing this fight. But yeah, I've been going back and forth. I think it's a close fight. But I'm going to have to go with the dog. I think Kelleher, he's obviously, I think, beaten better competition. I just think it's a tough fight right now for a guy like, Montel. I mean, Montel has a higher ceiling for sure. He's a really good striker. He's going to be a top 5 guy. But it's all about if he's ready, like you already mentioned. And I think Kelleher's a good fighter, man. I don't think he's a jobber by any means. I think he's a tough guy. He's beaten Julio Arce twice. He's beaten Yuri. He's beaten, obviously Barao. But yeah, Barao's pretty bad. Well, now he is. But I just think it's a close fight because, like you mentioned about Simone, obviously Kelleher doesn't have the grappling that Simone has, but Kelleher has a pace, man. He has good cardio. He's going to get in his face, and I think Kelleher can definitely back up his defense. I don't think he's going to be able to, like, grind him out. I don't think this is going, I don't think it's going to be a finish. I think Kelleher's going to win a very close decision. But, like you guys mentioned, Jackson's going to be a good fighter. People are saying that, oh, Zach Otto's his head coach. I mean, that doesn't mean anything, really, So Kelleher just got knocked out 5 months ago against, a top 5 guy. It's just all about if he's ready, and I don't know if he is. That's why I'm going to stay away, but I'm going to go with experience. I think Kelleher's going to get the nod here. But if Kelleher doesn't get the nod, if he gets knocked out, I think that's the end of Kelleher. He might not get cut, but, I mean, he's never going to be, getting those big fights. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with the dog, but I hope you guys cash. So,
I want to say I wish we got to see. We were talking about Ricky Simone so much. I wish we got to see him fight next week. I hope they give him a fight. It's like everyone pulls out on that guy. They need to give him a top 15 guy. I know last time I was on here with Kelton, I bet on Ricky Simone against Montel Jackson. So it's kind of weird that now I'm all over Montel Jackson now. But man, I'm a big fan of that guy, Ricky Simone. So I hope they give him a fight. He gets to fight in Denver, and I think he's gonna wash whoever he fights. If they give him a fight, I mean, I don't care who it is. I really think he's gonna wash him. So hope they give him a fight. But I think he's ready for the top 15. Because everyone keeps pulling out on the guy. I don't know what to say. That's all. That had nothing to do with anything. But just what
I really liked that Ricardo Ramos fight for him. I was gonna go big on Simone there.
Yeah,
we'll see if they still make it, but he was probably going to be like minus 250 to be honest.
What's going to happen is that I think they're going to give him Almeida in December because Almeida wants to fight in December, and that's a good fight for Simone. Almeida's a top 15 guy, so I mean, let's do it. I think that'd be a good fight. That's what I think because I saw Almeida he's trying to get back in the octagon in December, and Simone they're probably going to pull from the card. So yeah, I think it's a good fight. But anyway, so. Back to the card. Next fight, we got a really good fight. We got Shane Burgos, one of my favorite fighters, versus Kurt Holobaugh. And I'll start off with this one. This is a close fight because pre-tape I thought Burgos was easy money, and then I watched the tape, and it's I've had to go back and forth. I mean, I don't think Holobaugh's ever gonna be like a top 10 guy. I think Burgos could definitely be a top 10 guy. I was really disappointed with the Calvin fight. I mean, Burgos is winning the fight, but then Calvin caught him. But I mean. Calvin's a top 10 guy. I think Calvin's gonna be a top 5 guy to be honest. But yeah, Burgos, I think he's the better striker. I think he has the better chin. I think he's faster, but his defense, is just not the best. And Kurt hits like a truck. I don't think this fight's gonna hit the mat. I mean, if it does, I think Burgos will take him down, but I don't think it's gonna hit the mat. But we'll see what happens. But if they're gonna strike, they're gonna brawl, man. Both these guys are good. Kurt losing the Barcelos last fight. I mean, that guy's good, man. That guy's gonna be a top 15 guy for sure. I think he beat Bobby Moffett too. Yeah, and we'll be talking about Bobby Moffett next week. But yeah, man, I've been going back and forth. But I'm gonna have to go with Burgos. I think Burgos is gonna knock him out in the first, second round. Clean striking, so technical. I mean, dude, the guy hits like a truck. I just wish he would clean up his defense a little bit. And maybe he should go to 155, man. I mean, he's a big guy. He cuts from I think he walks around like a 185, 190. And I mean, you see him like at the weigh-ins, man. Like he looks like super skinny, man. So I think Burgos could definitely have a future 155. But I mean, we'll see what happens. But I just think he's the better fighter than Kurt. So yeah, I'll have to go with Burgos by knockout. What about you, Kelton?
Honestly, man. Some people aren't going to agree with this, but I actually think Shane Burgos is slightly overrated. He's a good boxer for sure. I think defensively he has a lot of problems. I think fight IQ wise he has a lot of problems. Like looking back on his UFC career, Thiago Trator, who I don't even think is in the UFC anymore, to be honest. Like Shane Burgos obviously clearly won that fight, but that was a fucking war, and I don't know if you should be going to war with guys the caliber of Thiago Trator. The next fight against Charles Rosa, he knocked out Rosa in the third round, but two of the judges had Charles Rosa up 20-18 in that fight. Yeah, then he won a unanimous decision against Godofredo Pepe, which for sure, if you don't know how to beat Pepe by now, you shouldn't be in the UFC. And then Calvin Kattar. Burgos was looking good in that fight. Then Kattar definitely he started to figure him out, and he caught him in that first round because Shane Burgos, he does leave himself open sometimes. Now, is that going to really matter against Kurt Holobaugh? I think Burgos can actually get away with some of the stuff he usually gets away with now. Like even as defensively hold, I think he might be. The guy's still 10-1. He's won 10 out of his 11 fights. He wins fights. He got his first L out of the way. I mean, for sure, he's probably better than Kurt Holobaugh. He's probably better than Kurt Holobaugh everywhere here, in my opinion. But is he going to make a mistake? And is the tough vet Kurt Holobaugh going to come out and get a knockout? I actually give him I give him a decent chance here because not only that, I think it's kind of low percentage that Shane Burgos finished this fight. I think if Burgos wins, it's most likely a decision. It gives Holobaugh 15 minutes to find that shot for Burgos to make the wrong mistake. So I actually think Holobaugh has a decent chance to, catch Burgos here or something. But most likely, I would say the most likely outcome is probably Shane Burgos, 30-27 decision. For DraftKings, I haven't talked a lot about DraftKings, but I think this might be one of the fights to really look at because I think whoever wins is going to score well, even in a loss. Like, personally, I think if Burgos wins, it's most likely going to be a decision. So in cash games and DK, I think if Holobaugh, even in a loss, I think in a high-paced striking match, I think even in a loss, Holobaugh can get like 25, 30 points. So this is one of my favorite fights to target on DK. But I'll go with Shane Burgos, the favorite. I'll say 30-27 decision.
Yeah, and I actually on my video earlier this week, I picked Kurt Holobaugh to win this fight. So I'm kind of leaning more towards what Kelton said, where I just think that Shane Burgos, he has to move in this fight, which I haven't seen him really do in any of his other fights. I just see him walk forward, and he has a hand style as well, where I feel like, if he tries to do that against Kurt Holobaugh throws with combinations just like Kattar does. And maybe he's not as clean with his strikes, but I just think that he's a durable guy. He's going to be in Shane Burgos' face. And if Burgos really gives him that fight where they're going to stand on like a napkin in the middle of the octagon and just throw punches, I mean, I think at that point it's almost like a 50-50 fight because Burgos has the skills, where he can move around. In my opinion, he can move around. He could throw some longer strikes, use his footwork, and box this guy up probably and win an easy decision. And, I hope he does that, but everything that I've seen is Burgos wants to go in there and have another war, and have another fun fight. And so I'm actually going to pick Kurt Holobaugh to get a third-round knockout in that fight. And, I don't know if it's extremely likely, but I like the odds. And if Shane Burgos gives him the fight that I think he will, I think it's a pretty good chance, that he could do it. So I'm going with Kurt Holobaugh.
He's definitely a live dog. Yeah, 100% sure he is. So next fight, a guy who I don't think is live. We got Matt Frevola versus Vannata, and I'll let Guru go with this fight first.
Yeah, I kind of agree, man. Like if I really wanted to, I really want to trust Lando Vannata and bet him here, but just something's telling me I can't do it. Still, I got to see him win another fight, but everything about this fight, indicates that he's going to win. Frevola is a guy that he comes in, he's extremely aggressive with his striking, really tries to close the distance, and then, he's a pretty good grinder. You got to give it to him. Has good cardio, he has good heart. He'll keep coming forward, go for the takedowns in the later rounds, and but I don't think he's very good positionally on the ground. He got swept a lot. And Vannata's one of those guys that's just he's like a freak athlete, man. You'll see him doing a lot of gymnastics, stuff like that on his Instagram, where I think he's a guy that's going to be really hard to hold down. I haven't seen anyone that I could think of in the UFC that's actually held him down on the ground. I mean, I know he's gotten taken down a few times, but I think that'll be a hard thing for Frevola to do. And the striking, I just think Lando all day. He's much more tactical, much crisper, and I find it hard to see this fight go in the distance, and I think that Vannata is going to go out there and get a big win, come back on the scene with a pretty highlight reel finish. So I'm going to go with Lando Vannata, probably second or third round finish.
What about you, Kelton?
Yeah, I think Lando should definitely be rightly favored here, but I actually think out of all the underdogs on this card, Frevola might be in the most top 3 or top 4 live of the card, honestly, just based on the way that Lando has been performing. It's been really underwhelming, honestly. So maybe that trend continues, but of course he should be the favored fighter here. He's probably better everywhere. He's got that wrestling base that a lot of people won't talk about just because he mostly strikes in his fights. But honestly, man, he came into the UFC, had that absolute war with Tony Ferguson. I still watch that fight once every few months or so, just because it was so damn fun. Then he comes out in his next fight after that loss and just smashes the head off of John McDessie in the knockout of the year. And then I know me and Justin, we bet on David Tamer as a nice underdog there, plus 280, plus 300, huge underdog there against Lando. And I kind of feel like Tamer kind of broke the guy's confidence a little bit because I thought it was a real red flag in his next fight. I thought he was going to handle Bobby Green easily, but he allowed that fight to be much closer than it really should have been. Bobby Green's a guy who's really on the tail end of his career, and Lando Vannata, obviously, he's still young, trying to go up the ladder. And then in his last fight against Drakkar Klose, he was a big favorite like he is now, and he really had nothing for Drakkar Klose. Drakkar Klose went out there and Lando made Drakkar look like a top 20 guy, honestly. So it's really, really kind of disappointing to see how Lando's performing after coming to the UFC with such a splash. On the other side, though, what I see from Frevola on tape, I don't see enough to get me to take the shot on him here for sure. I think maybe he'll be able to go out. I think if the later the fight goes, the more it'll favor Frevola. Probably just because Lando does slow down in those later rounds. But then again, Frevola, still, I mean, I know he's made his UFC debut at this point, but he got knocked out real early on. So does Frevola is he even over those UFC jitters yet? Who even knows? It's a complete pass fight, in my opinion. But if you're going to take either side, why not take the big value and Frevola against a guy who honestly hasn't been looking great? So I'll go with Lando via knockout, third round, but I wouldn't trust him.
Yeah, Vannata's minus 265 right now, and if he gets down to minus 200, I might have to do it. Kind of like you said, when he fought Tamer, I mean, I think Lando won the first round, but Vannata just gasses, man. I mean, his gassing's not that good. I think he's a durable guy, He's definitely been in a lot of wars. He's still 26 years old, which is crazy. He's younger than Frevola. And Vannata left Jackson's, I think he's training with Cowboy Cerrone, I think, another gym. I'm not really sure, but I just think that he has a huge. Go ahead.
The Ranch?
Oh,
the Ranch?
Yeah.
That's
just at Jackson. So there's I guess what he was saying, I heard an interview where I guess they reopened an old gym that used to be just Greg Jackson's gym before they opened Jackson Wink. And I guess it's just some old, like Cowboy, like you said, is training there, and some older like guys that used to be on Jackson Wink that didn't like that camp. I guess created just Jackson's MMA. So I guess that's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
I
Hey,
don't
this
know.
could
All training there though. I don't really know. So
this could be good, man, for Vannata because Jackson's not really doing that good. You know, that whole camp. I mean, John Jones, you know, obviously going to win, but I mean, other than that, I just think Vannata has a big speed advantage here, man. He's so fast. Frevola, you know, I mean, you could say I guess he has a decent chin, but I mean, he got knocked out his last fight. He gets hit, I feel like, every fight, even in the Contender Series. But he has good pressure, man. He does have good grappling, trains at Longo, but I just think Vannata's going to catch him. And I know you mentioned the Quasi fight. I think Jakar's going to be a top 20 guy, man. The guy's good. I really do think the guy is going to be a good fighter. He looked really good that fight. He beat DKC. I mean, DKC's not really that good. But, yeah, he lost to Tamer in a close fight. But, I mean, Tamer is, you know, in my opinion, a top 15 guy right now. But I just think Vannata is the better striker. He's faster. If it gets out of the first round, just like the first fight we talked about, the Lima fight, it's going to get hairy. But I think Vannata's going to get that knockout. So I got Lando by a first round finish. I don't think Frevola is UFC material. So, and I do think Lando is. I know Lando doesn't have the best record, but you know, he's facing pretty good guys. I mean, Tamer, really good. Tony, I mean, come on, Tony's a beast. Go ahead.
I mean, oh yeah, I mean he's definitely UFC caliber when he has good performances. You know, like when you saw him against Tony Ferguson or Mac Desi. I mean, that guy's maybe even you know, a top 20 guy, but it's just like he's been talking, you know, as well, like where he's been talking to a what's it called, like a mind coach, where he's says he's been having problems with confidence and all that. So you know, that could be part of the issue as well. You know, where maybe he it's in his head a little bit, but I think he definitely is obviously, you know, has the talent to be in the UFC 100%, you know, but some people just can't put it all together, it seems.
Yeah, if he doesn't beat Frevola, I mean, he's going to get cut, 100% sure. So, but this is a big fight for both of them. I think Frevola might not get cut with the loss. He's 0-2. I mean, give him Jow and Turner. That'd be a good fight for Turner. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. So, next fight, we got another weird fight. We got Lyman Good versus Ben Saunders, and I'll let Kelton go off with this one first.
Yeah, man. So with this, with the gigantic mismatch in the main event with the whole title fight, even with that, I think this is the biggest mismatch of the entire card. The way I personally lined these fights, I lined Lyman Good as the biggest favorite on this card, mostly because I am a little high on him. I don't know if Lyman Good's a future champ or anything, and he has been around for a long time. I think he's a solid guy for sure. But it's mostly a fade on Ben Saunders for sure. So I mean, looking at the guy's record, first of all, he was submitted a couple weeks ago. Absolutely dominated against Sergio Moraes. Sure, it's a different matchup for sure, but even this year, even earlier in February of this year, I saw it live. That beating he took against Alan Jouban. That was a freaking war, man. Even if that Alan Jouban fight was his last fight, I would even say maybe he's coming back from that too soon. I mean, he took a lot of damage. It's really crazy that Ben Saunders fought 3 times this year. I mean, is Ben Saunders the new Jake Ellenberger? Like, this guy is super shot at this point. I know he beat Jake Ellenberger, and you know, looking at his record, you know, the guy's been around forever, and it's crazy because even when he made his Bellator debut after his first UFC stint, like even when he like first started in Bellator, like 2011, 2012, people were talking about him being close to the end of his career back then. So it's really, really crazy that this guy is still fighting. And since then, he's gotten knocked out a bunch of times. Really crazy looking through Ben Saunders. So the guy has how many losses? He has 10 losses. 8 of them are by finish, and they're all in the second round. Ben Saunders has been finished in the second round 8 times, and really what that tells me is either A, he's not good at making adjustments, or B, he severely slows down. I don't think either of those things are very good against a guy who hits as hard as Lyman Good, a guy who is as sharp of a striker as Lyman Good is. And, you know, a lot of people, they'll look at Lyman Good and they'll see this big juiced-ass guy and they'll think, oh, he's a knockout artist. I mean, yeah, he knocks out most of his opponents. He has a shit ton of knockout wins, but he's kind of a point striker style. He just happens to get knockouts because he's so damn juiced and his arms are the size of my legs, man. I mean, the guy is jacked. I think it's a terrible stylistic matchup for Ben. I don't think Ben's going to have a chance to pull his favorite little rubber guard shit here. I don't think he's going to be able to get a chance to grapple here at all against Lyman. I don't see how this fight hits the mat unless Lyman knocks him down and jumps on top of him. It's going to be on the feet, and on the feet, it's a severe mismatch. Maybe if it gets into the clinch, Ben can land his knees and elbows that he's known for, but I think Lyman will do a good job of stalking him down, just picking away at him, and I think the trend will continue. Ben Saunders will get knocked out in the second round. I got Lyman here via a vicious second round knockout after a 10-8 first round. So I got Lyman here all day long, man. It's hard for me to see a path to victory for Ben Saunders. The only way I see it is if he survives to the late rounds and he lands something nasty in the clinch. That's really about it. But Lyman Goody's a guy who went out there. He had a admirable fight against Ben Askren. He had a great fight against Koreshkov. He went to split against Zaleski. Him and Zaleski had a fucking war, man. Lyman Good, even with his inactivity, I think he's a very solid fighter. And Ben Saunders, he's screwed here, man. So I got a lot of money on Lyman Good. I have him in a 5.1 unit parlay, and I have 2.5 units on him to win inside the distance. So Lyman Good all day long here, man.
What about you, Guru?
I kind of agree. I mean, the one thing I will give Ben Saunders credit for, I mean, like you're saying, he kind of beat Jake Ellenberger for the Jake Ellenberger title in MMA type thing. But, Ben Saunders isn't a quitter like Jake Ellenberger. That guy has a lot of heart. He'll fight until the end, and, you really have to put him out. So that's one thing I will give Ben Saunders a lot of credit for, and like you said, that fight against Alan Jouban, he actually, that might have been like one of his last hurrahs, because he actually had a pretty good performance in that fight. He even rocked Alan Jouban a couple times with some straight punches. He looked pretty good, but, eventually he got finished himself. And I kind of agree, it's another guy out of Team Tiger Showman and Lyman Good. And there's actually a few of those guys on this card. And I really like that camp. All of them seem to have really good jabs. They're very composed strikers, and they never really deviate from a game plan. Lyman Good's a guy that's going to come in there, like you said. He's going to have his game plan to strike on the outside. He's not going to take many risks, and I don't think he's going to give Ben Saunders a lot of chances to win the fight. But, Lyman Good is coming off of a USADA suspension, and, I did actually thought he won that Zaleski fight, if I'm honest, but he was saying some things in the corner that maybe I didn't really like, where he was saying he didn't want to get knocked out or something, which maybe is a bit of a weakness going forward, where he's kind of a little bit mentally weak in there. And his coach, it was kind of funny. His coach was like, get knocked out live or some shit like that. Yeah. It's kind of funny. I do think Lyman Good has, a really high possibility of winning here. I think Ben Saunders would have to catch him with something kind of crazy to win, and so I think Lyman Good probably will get a knockout in the later rounds. And I didn't know what you said about the second round, but since you said that, I'll say he gets the knockout in the second round. So I'll go with Lyman Good.
So a couple things I'll add real quick. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos will put fear in a lot of men, and a lot of scary men too. He will put fear in a lot of people. And then the other thing that you mentioned about all the Tiger Schulman guys on this card, I think they're all feeding energy off each other. I think it's a great thing. They're all getting prepped at the same time. They're all peaking at the same time. I think it's, it's great morale. They're probably all super confident, just feeding off each other's energies. They're all big favorites. So the Tiger Schulman guys probably will have a good night.
Yeah, I got the favorite too. I think Lyman Good, is a pretty decent fighter. I don't think he's ever going to be a top 15 guy. The guy has a good chin. One thing, obviously, it was a long time ago, but, he lost to that guy on Tough, Ian Stevens. That was kind of a weird fight. That guy is a jobber. That guy doesn't even fight anymore. I feel like that was just I don't know how you lose to a guy like that. Maybe he was, nervous about being in the UFC. I don't know. I remember Dana White was saying, Bellator champs don't belong in the UFC. But, hey, Good's looked pretty good so far. It's a close fight with Zaleski, but like Guru said, I don't like that mental thing. I feel like he is a little mental. But yeah, he is a pretty good point fighter. Saunders, obviously, his chin. He's a tough guy, man. He really is. He's not a quitter like you guys talked about. But, he's definitely taken, a lot of damage. And, I don't know when his last fight's going to be. Obviously, this is a totally different matchup than the Sergio fight. But yeah, I think, you know, I don't know, man, if Good's gonna knock him out. I do think Good's gonna win, but I mean, it could get, you know, it could be a war, man. But I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know if this fight hits the mat. That rubber guard shit doesn't really work. But yeah, I'll go with Weidman Good here. I do think he wins, but yeah, I'm not gonna be playing at minus 600. And I don't think Saunders is a jobber, man. I mean, I think he's a tough guy. When you guys say something,
He's a tough guy, but he's that damage meter, man. It's so high up. A lot of tough guys. Look at Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson's one of the most tough motherfuckers of all time. The damage meter just got too high. He was unable to take shots.
yeah, but I mean, Good doesn't like to get hit, man, either. And Saunders is, you know, is pretty nasty in the clinch. So I wouldn't be surprised, man, if Good got rocked. I mean, I don't think he's gonna lose, but I mean, I don't think Saunders, like, I think he has a chance. I'm not gonna say he's a live dog, but I'm not gonna be playing Good at minus 600. You know, I think he's not the worst dog on the card. I'll say that.
You guys think Good will be the shit? You think the USADA suspension was legit, or you think you buy his thing with the tainted supplement shit? Because that guy looks like, I haven't seen him, like, I guess we'll see him tomorrow, but I mean, I guess
it was before the Zaleski fight, right?
No, that was
after. So. Or after?
2 years since. That's what his layoff's been about.
I've seen some pictures. He doesn't look the same, I'll tell you that, but he's still big. He's still a big guy for 170.
But it was, I think it was like determined to be a tainted supplement. But I mean, I don't. That guy looks like he definitely takes steroids, so I don't know. But yeah,
100% sure. But yeah, so yeah, I got Weidman Good. So next fight, we got Julio Arce versus Shaman Moraes, and you know, I'm actually not. I guess I'll have one of you guys go with it because I mean, I don't have a play. I'll go with Kelton again because I know you have a plan of it.
Yeah, I got Arce here. I was really fortunate to get in early. I got 2.5 units at minus 195 and 2.5 units at minus 215. So 5 units average odds minus 205. I was fortunate to get in early there, obviously, with the current line. But yeah, I knew as soon as I watched Julio Arce in his last fight, which I bet against him at his last fight. I took Tamer as a big dog there, and man, Arce impressed the hell out of me. The dude is serious. He's so well-rounded. I like the guy a lot. He's like the future of MMA, and I told myself, man, I really want to bet him against a hittable guy, a guy who makes a lot of mistakes in his next fight. And they gave it to me, man. They gave me Shaman Moraes, who Shaman is a good striker, and he's got some power. Shaman is a good fighter for sure, but they gave him the wrong matchup here, man. Julio Arce is he's going up the ladder, and he's going up the ladder fast. Do not be surprised to see this guy in the top 15 in 2019. I really think he has Shaman outgunned, even on the feet, with Shaman being such a good striker, an experienced striker. I mean, Shaman's been in there with guys like Marlon Moraes. He's been in there with Zabit. He's been in there with serious fighters, but you know, he's losing those fights, and he's not just losing those fights. He's losing those fights convincingly. The last fight against Matt Sales, that was a razor close fight. I didn't have either side. I picked Sales, but I wasn't really that surprised that Shaman beat him. I mean, I wasn't exactly that high on Sales. It was Sales' UFC debut. I think this is a much different fight. Arce should definitely be favored here around the minus 300, minus 350 range. Yeah, I'll say he actually goes out and submits Shaman in the later rounds, second or third. I think on the feet, Shaman might be able to give him some problems. I do favor Arce on the feet. I really think it'll be Arce's wide skill set to where eventually he gets the fight to the mat and he submits Shaman. So I'll go with Arce's second or third round submission.
Yeah, honestly, I've been going back and forth because, you know, pre-tape I actually had Moraes, but then, you know, I watched the tape and, you know, Arce is pretty good, man. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, the whole thing with Kelleher, that's in the past. I mean, I did hear that, you know, fighting at 135 was, like, not good. I mean, he was, like, you know, like, cutting a lot of weight, and I think he's better at 145. He definitely has a big speed advantage at 145. Yeah, Shaman's definitely a technical fighter, but, I mean, I do think that Arce has the better, like, more power. I think he has the better hands. He's more well-rounded, too. You know, Shaman has good jiu-jitsu, but I do think that Arce is a better grappling. But, yeah, before the show, I was talking about, you know, picking Moraes, but I changed my pick. I'm going to go with Arce. I think Arce is going to get a decision win. But, yeah, I think Arce, like, has, like, more upside, obviously. I think he's going to, like, go farther in the division. But I don't think Shaman's a jobber. I bet him last fight versus Matt. Say it was a close fight. Could have gone either way, but Shaman's super technical, man. I mean, the guy, like, trains at Black House. He has good striking, but I just think Arce has more tools. And Arce is going to be in his face. He's going to be pressuring him. And, I don't think Shaman doesn't really like to get hit. He has a good chin, but, I mean, he doesn't like to get hit. So I got Arce. I think he's going to get inside and, land some good shots. So I got Arce by decision. What about you, Guru?
I actually made a play too on Julio Arce inside the distance here, so I like Arce as well. And one of the main reasons why I like Julio Arce is because this is kind of a similar matchup to the last two guys. On Dana White Contender Series, he fought another guy who's super athletic, had a lot of power, and this guy named Peter Pettis. And I was actually pretty impressed with Peter Pettis in that fight as well. And Arce is the same thing with David Tamer's little brother Daniel, where he's very explosive early, very dangerous with his striking. And, Julio Arce is very composed in there. You could tell that, he's very calm. He really, thrives in the moment in there. You could tell in between rounds that he's, extremely happy to be fighting, really listens to his corner well, too. That's one of the things I really picked up. They'll tell him something to do in between rounds, and he'll do it immediately, start the next round. And he's one of those guys that picks up as the fight goes on and really starts to put the pressure on and starts to take off and take a fight into his hands. And Shaman's a guy that we saw in the last fight that kind of he fades a little. He's the opposite, where he'll start fast and then he starts to get tired. So I do think Arce is gonna maybe be a little bit conservative early, but Sergio, he uses a lot of these long shots where he's throwing these one shot attacks, where I think that Arce is going to be able to land the jab, land the cleaner punches when he's trying to land those big winging shots, because he doesn't really throw a lot of combinations, but his kicks are really dangerous. That's one of the things that I really like about Moraes, and he has to be careful with those kicks for sure, especially the body kicks. But I think Arce, I think he's going to be able to hurt him on the feet in the later rounds and drop him and submit him with the rear naked choke. So I'm going to go with Julio Arce by a third round submission.
So yeah, next fight we got Sajara Eubanks versus Roxanne Modafferi. I don't really want to talk about this fight that long. I don't know, man. I mean, Roxanne's definitely came a long way. I don't think she's a jobber. A lot of people think she's not that good. She used to not be good, but she's definitely, I feel like maybe a top 15 girl in the division. I do think Eubanks is going to win. I do think Eubanks, is a good fighter. Obviously, I feel bad for her because she's supposed to fight for the title and all this stuff now. But yeah, I mean, the first fight, Eubanks won. It was pretty dominant, but I mean, Roxanne had her moments. But I just think Eubanks is better everywhere. Am I going to be betting it? No. But I mean, Roxanne could get, 30, 40 points for DraftKings. But yeah, I just think Eubanks is the better athlete. I think that, she has more power, better striking. She has good wrestling too, but Roxanne's good off her back. Roxanne's good on the ground, and that's her game. She has very good jiu-jitsu. But yeah, I'll go Eubanks by 29-28 decision. What about you, Guru?
Yeah, I think Eubanks will get it done too. But one of the things, Roxy in her career, she's had a pretty long career, and she's fought 3 girls before where she's had a loss and then rematched them, and she's won all 3 of those fights. So she is 3-0 in rematches that she lost before. So she definitely, is able to come back and, avoid that mental block of losing previously and, get the win. And she's definitely someone that's mentally strong, someone that's lost 7 fights in a row, battled all the way back up to where if she gets a win here, I mean, she's probably the number 1 contender in the UFC division, and she already had a title shot. So to be down in the dumps and be able to pull yourself all the way back up, I mean, that shows a lot of, mental toughness. But, she definitely has some deficiencies athletically, where she just isn't a great athlete. And I do think in that first fight, I thought her striking was actually better than Sajara's, because Sajara was closing her eyes a lot, throwing really wide, and she looked really uncomfortable on the feet. But when she fought Lauren Murphy, that was all gone. She had a lot of confidence. She was walking forward, throwing a lot tighter punches. She wasn't closing her eyes anymore. And I think the training with Mark Henry really paid off for her. So, I think she's better on the feet now than Roxanne. And the one area I do think Roxanne is more dangerous than Sajara is if she gets on top, because she definitely has some really nice elbows, and she's finished a lot of girls on top. And, Sajara really wasn't able to do anything to Roxanne when she took her down in the first fight. But, I think that Sajara should be able to take her down when she wants to, control her, and, win a decision. So I think Sajara will get it done. And it'll be interesting to see what she says to Joe Rogan too on the mic after she wins. So
that's gonna be awesome.
So.
I can't wait for that. What about you, Kelton?
Yeah, man. So Justin might know this, but I'm like a huge CR Eubanks supporter. I've had my eyes under her for a very long time, like even very early in her Invicta career, back when she was smoking chicks and fighting Aspen Ladd. And I was very high on Ciara Eubanks in that Jessica I fight. I wish that was still going on because she would have been like, she might have even been plus money against Jessica I there. Maybe, definitely not worse than minus 150 in my opinion. People are high at Jessica Hyde, man.
She would have been plus money versus I. Get out of here.
No way, fool. I don't think she would have been plus.
Oh man, you'd be surprised.
I would have been steamed to like -4. I'm sorry, Eubanks would have been steamed to -400, dude, for sure. I think. Come on.
I think she'd be definitely a lot smaller favorite than she is here for sure.
Money.
But okay. But as a Ciara Eubanks supporter, I actually feel weird about this matchup, even with her having beat Roxanne before. I don't know. I feel like there's the whole thing. Maybe she's distracted by everything that's going on with all the fan backlash, all that. Maybe that's a minor distraction. Not only that, like Guru mentioned, Roxanne Modafferi wins rematches. Roxanne Modafferi super fucking experienced. And he pretty much nailed it. She would be most dangerous if she got on top. And, Ciara's a super good grappler, but it's not like she hasn't been out-grappled before. Aspen Ladd out-grappled her. So, I don't know, man. Maybe Roxanne Modafferi really pulls this one off, but I think Ciara is rightfully favored. I think the line's a little bit off. They should give Roxanne a little more respect, and I will take Roxanne in DraftKings because, like Justin mentioned, even in a loss, I think it's probably going to be a high-paced striking match. So even in a loss, maybe like 30 points for Modafferi for cash games. So I don't know. It's a weird matchup. As a Eubanks supporter, I'll pick her, and I'll pick her to win by a 30-27 decision. But I kind of feel weird about this matchup. I'm more looking forward to the post-fight with Joe Rogan than I am the fight itself.
Yeah. So next fight, we got Jason the Kid Knight versus Jordan Rinaldi. And I'll take this one again. I'm actually really intrigued in this fight. I'm going to go big on Jason Knight in DraftKings, but I'm not going to be betting him here. You can't really trust Jason Knight. Like, I feel like this is a good matchup for him. I think he's going to get a finish here. But, the guy just lost his confidence. Maybe his chin, too. Ricardo Lamas knocked him out, like, bad. I actually bet on Jason Knight there. I was at that fight live, and, yeah, I was crying for, like, 3 hours. Then he lost to Benitez, and I feel like he should have won that fight. But Benitez just like looked really good out there, man. His chin just did not look good. And then last fight, like I also bet on Jason Knight in that fight, and I do think Jason Knight won the fight, but couldn't get up, man. That was, hopefully Team Alpha Male, like his wrestling like looks better, but I do think he won the fight, but it was super close and he could not get up. And this fight against Rinaldi, Rinaldi has good wrestling, good grappling, but I don't think he's UFC material, just like Matt Frevola. This guy is so chinny. He has terrible striking, and I think Jason Knight is going to smoke him on the feet. If Rinaldi takes him down, it'll get interesting. Like, I don't know if Knight's going to be able to submit him, or he could sweep him. But, Rinaldi's a big guy. He's juiced at the gills. He's fighting 145 again. I think the last time he fought 145 was like when he fought T-City and RFA, I think. But, yeah, man, I do think Jason Knight's going to win this fight. Like I said, I'm going to go big on DraftKings. But I'm not going to be betting him here. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, I got Jason Knight. I think he's going to knock him out. I think he's going to hurt him really bad on the feet, get on top, and get a TKO. But, yeah, I don't think Rinaldi's good, man, at all. But I don't think he's lying. I really don't. But, hey, Rinaldi could win because Jason Knight's, on the decline. But I'll go Jason Knight. What about you, Kelton?
Yeah, dude, I'm with you, man. I'm going to go big on Jason Knight and DraftKings, too. I think he probably finishes Rinaldi. Rinaldi's not very high level at all. Like, back at the time, Abel Trujillo was, like, a pretty big favorite against him. But now looking back on it, that loss has not aged well for Jordan Rinaldi, just kind of based on how Abel's been performing. Rinaldi, he's a good wrestler. He's an all right grappler for sure. He was able to go out and submit that complete bum with some kind of crazy submission. That was cool there. The guy is a good grappler, and his way to beat Jason Knight here is to wrestle him and hold him down, kind of take some pages out of Makwan Amirkhani's book. But I think Knight's got him outgunned on the feet, and even on the ground, man. Knight is no slouch of a grappler himself. The dude can grapple his ass off for sure. He kind of sliced through Alex Caceres like butter on the mat. Jason Knight's he's good everywhere, man. I think listening to his interviews, he sounds like a man possessed. He's coming out with the finish or be finished attitude. I think he's going to be too much for Rinaldi here. I think it's a tough one. So I kind of like the fight to not go the distance. I kind of like Knight to win in the distance. I like Knight altogether here. Maybe on a different card with less good opportunities, I'd be betting Knight, but I'm not betting him on this card. I'm decided to take the DraftKings route because I do think he probably finishes Rinaldi by knockout. Maybe he submits him. Rinaldi's good in the ground, but I don't know, man. It's a good fight for Jason Knight to get back on track here. I doubt he loses this fight, so I'll go with Knight via second round TKO.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Knight will win, but I actually kind of disagree with you guys about I think Rinaldi's striking is okay. I don't think he has terrible striking. Against Abel, he was actually landing, a pretty nice 1-2. He has some decent kicks, and I actually think that his actually best path to victory would be, trying to stay far on the outside and just land, shots and move. But I do think Jason Knight's going to be able to get on the inside on him. He's a little bit flat-footed. So, but I think Jason Knight's actually better grappler than he is a striker, man. Even on his back, you guys are talking about against Amirkhani. And, I thought he won that fight pretty clearly as well, because even when he was on his back, he was the one doing all the damage on his back. Amirkhani was just laying on him, and Jason Knight was always pressuring him. He had him in his rubber guard. He was landing elbows. So I think more than anything, I don't know if Jason Knight couldn't get up. I think he was comfortable there and thought he was the one, working more than Makwan. And I kind of agree, but, the judges aren't going to give you that all the time. So he definitely has to fight smart. And I do like what you guys said. He went to Team Alpha Male. So they'll probably get him in a better mindset in there where he's not just going on autopilot, and I thought it was pretty funny. You're talking about him being a man possessed. It was pretty, I don't know if you guys saw the media stared out today, but he came in with his shirt off. That was pretty funny. It was total Jason Knight of him to do that, But I think he's gonna come out here, and I think that he's actually gonna, be able to get inside of Rinaldi. I think Rinaldi's gonna. I listened to his interview with James Lynch as well, and he was saying the same thing where he's thinking he wants to come out and try to strike on the outside, not fuck around on the ground with Jason Knight. So he's actually gonna try to outstrike him, but I think that Jason Knight's gonna be able to get on the inside, close the distance, hurt him with some shots, and then probably submit him on the ground. So I'll go with Jason Knight to get a submission win in that one.
Yeah, so next up, we got the main card, man. We got Israel Adesanya, Stylebender versus Derek Brunson. And I have my only play here on the night, but I'm going to let you guys go first. I want to see what you guys say. So, yeah, I'll go with Guru first.
Yeah, I actually also have a couple plays on Israel Adesanya, straight and inside the distance. So I think that he's a pretty safe play here. I also bet a 1 unit play on him to win by submission at like plus 1,200 or something, just because I heard him been talking about it a lot. And I think, he really doesn't like Brunson, and I could see him, hurting him and really wanted to submit him just to kind of rub it in a little bit. And, I think Brunson's going to come in and he's going to try to, double leg him or body lock him and then get him to the cage and go for a single leg, because that's really his best takedown is that single leg. You saw in space, especially against Anderson Silva, he doesn't have really that good penetrating double legs. He doesn't set his shots up very well. And Silva, he's like 41 or 40 years old or something, defended like 10 out of 11 takedowns from Brunson. So, Brunson definitely doesn't have great shots in space. And for me to imagine him holding Adesanya like against the cage for 3 rounds or being able to, take him down, I just don't really think that's going to happen. I actually think Tavares would beat Derek Brunson, if I'm being honest. So, I think this is a pretty easy fight for Adesanya. Everyone knows Brunson's striking style where he comes in kind of reckless and, makes him dangerous. You can't take anything away from him. He has a lot of first-round knockouts, but those are against guys, I guess Machida, Uriah Hall, or some maybe fringe top 15, but most of the guys that he knocks out like that with those blitzes in the first round are guys that are, outside the top 30, the Dan Kellys, Sam Alvey type guys. So he's not really knocking out those guys with the best records. So I think that Israel's gonna be able to catch him here, man. I think more likely he'll knock him out, but I do think he has a chance to submit him as well. But I think Israel will catch him in the first or second round and finish Brunson. So I'm gonna go with Adesanya to keep rising up the ranks.
What about you, Kelton?
Yeah, this is an awesome fight, man. I'm really big on Adesanya. I have a lot on him. I have 6.5 on Adesanya, just like I have 6.5 on Montel. Adesanya, Montel, and Lyman Good are really the three core pieces of my weekend here. But really interesting about this fight. So every time Derek Brunson comes off a KO loss, he comes out more tentative in the next fight. He got knocked out by Jacare in Strikeforce, came out tentative, won a kind of a boring decision against Chris Lieben. He got knocked out against Yoel Romero, kind of went out and won a boring decision against Lorenz Larkin, where that's like the last time he actually wrestled was the Lorenz Larkin fight. Got knocked out against Robert Whitaker and came out more tentative against Anderson Silva. So every time he gets knocked out, he comes in his next fight a little bit more tentative. So coming off the second Jacare knockout here, I think he probably is going to come out a little more tentative. So that kind of gives me I think the Israel wins in round 2 and round 3 props. I think those might be something. But as for a winner, man, it's definitely got to be Israel Adesanya here. This is a nightmare matchup for Derek Brunson, man. Like a fucking nightmare matchup. Like if this fight happened right after Israel Adesanya beat Rob Wilkinson or Marvin Vettori, I think the line would be like near damn even because there would be questions about Adesanya's takedown defense and whatnot. But he really showed elite takedown defense, real good technique in that fight against Brad Tavares. I know people will come out and say, oh, Brad Tavares, he's a striker. He's not a wrestler. Brunson's actually a real fucking wrestler. Dude, I saw the technique. Israel Adesanya is a freak athlete. He's not just a glory kickboxer coming into MMA to see how he does. The guy he's fucking serious, man, and he's gonna come up to the the top 3 of the division. I don't see how Derek Brunson wins this fight. If he wants to come out, guns blazing, try to take Adesanya's head off early, which he really might do. I mean, he seems really emotional about this matchup. I think if he tries to do that, he's gonna get caught. I don't see him going Israel Adesanya, the former kickboxing champion, out. And as for the wrestling, I think for the most part, Israel Adesanya will stuff. And if Brunson gets him down in that first round, which is most likely, like if he's going to get him down, he's probably going to get him down early. I think Adesanya, I don't think he'll show defensive abilities on his back. I don't think he'll be a fish on his back by any means. I see how serious this guy takes the sport of MMA for sure, and this is just a bad matchup for Brunson. There's not much more to say. No matter what kind of game plan he comes out with here, he's probably going to get his lights shut off. So there's Israel Adesanya via knockout. I'll say second round, but I won't be surprised if it happens in the first, second, or third. But Israel Adesanya KO.
Yeah, you guys said everything I wanted to say. It feels weird having one play because this is my only play of the night, and definitely the steepest line I've ever bet before, besides the Yair BJ Penn. But I mean, that was like a squash match. But yeah, I got 7 units, man, on Stylebender at -330, which I mean is not the best line. I went to -320, but yeah, I'm really big on Amir. I think it's a really good matchup. I do think Brunson actually could get him down, but I think he's gonna get right back up. And I mean, like you guys mentioned, Brunson hasn't even used his wrestling, man, really that much, and yeah, his defense on the feet, I mean, oh my God, is so bad. And I think Stylebender is a future champ, dude. His striking is so good. He's so fast for the division. I don't think he's the biggest middleweight, but I think he should definitely stay 185 because he definitely has a huge speed advantage against most guys. And the Brad fight is what did it for me, man. I mean, he won every round, in my opinion. He dominated that fight. And Brad's a top 10 guy, man. I mean, damn. Brad took down Elias, too, man. I mean, I'm pretty sure there was one moment in the fight, too, where Stylebender had a Kimura. I mean, dude, Stylebender has a good ground game too. I don't think we've seen it yet, obviously, but if he got a submission, that'd be like nuts. But I got a first round knockout. I think Brunson's gonna come out and try to get the knockout because he's an idiot, and maybe he might get a takedown, but I think he's gonna leave his chin up in the air. And Stylebender has very good counters, and I think he's gonna get a knockout against the fence. So I got Stylebender with the first round KO. So next fight we got Carl Baby Roberson K or whatever versus Jack Marshman. And I'm gonna keep this really short and sweet. I'm actually big on Carl Roberson here. I was gonna bet him, but I decided to pass. I already have 7 units, obviously, on Stylebender. Yeah, I just think Carl's the better striker. I think he's the faster striker. He has a really good chin. He actually has good wrestling too, which we haven't really seen besides the Darren Stewart fight. And the guy trained with Corey Anderson, man, every day. I know he lost last fight. I actually bet him last fight versus Matante. And as much as I like to hate on Matante, because he has a bad chin, he's a good fighter, man. He's definitely worked around his chin. And I think he's a good fighter. He's definitely a top 15 guy, very good ground game. And Jack Marshman's been knocked out 4 times. His takedown defense isn't that good. He's talked about retiring. He tried to go to 170. He missed weight. I'm pretty sure he missed weight. He was supposed to fight Brad Scott and didn't happen. But I just think Carl Roberson's the better striker, the fastest striker. He hits harder. And I think he's better everywhere, to be honest. So I got Carl Roberson with the first round. I think he's going to get a sub. I think he's going to hurt him and tap him out. So I got Carl Roberson by submission. What about you, Kelton?
Man, so I bet on Marshman in his first two UFC fights. I had him as a 2-1 underdog against Magnus Siedenblad. We haven't seen Magnus Siedenblad since then. That was a nice cash there. And I took the shot on him against Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos landed a beautiful spinning wheel kick on him. And, that's kind of the thing. Marshman is very open. I know it's Thiago Santos, and Thiago Santos is a serious top 15 talent. But Marshman does, as decent as a boxer he is offensively, he leaves himself open. And, Roberson, a lot of people bring up the fact that he's a former Glory guy, but Roberson's 0-3 in kickboxing, if you didn't know that. A lot of people will bring up the fact that he fought in Glory. He's 0-3 in Glory. Now, he is a really good striker, and I do think he should be favored in this matchup. But I don't know. It's a weird one. I think they're going to brawl it out, so I wouldn't recommend laying the juice on Roberson here, but he's probably going to win. He's probably going to win convincingly, but just the fact that I feel like these guys are just going to fling leather at each other, I wouldn't touch it. But I'll go with Roberson. I feel like he's slightly sharper, and if anything, Marshman will be the one trying to initiate the grappling here, and I think Roberson will stuff any kind of takedown offense Marshman has to offer. So I'll go with Roberson via second-round knockout.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say about his Glory, where you're saying he was 0-3, the one fight where I watched this fight against Jerome LeBanner, I mean, that was kind of bullshit. He won that fight because he knocked down LeBanner, and I guess it was LeBanner's retirement fight from kickboxing, and they gave him like a 16-second count or a 15-second count to stand back up, and he got up and he actually came back. He dropped Baby K with some body shots, which he actually has gotten hurt with a lot of body shots in kickboxing, a couple fights against Dustin Jacoby as well. So, but I mean, those guys are elite level kickboxers, and he was holding his own in both fights. The fight with LeBanner, I think, was a split decision, even after all the controversy where he probably should have won. And then I think he went to decision against Jacoby as well. So, I mean, those are some seasoned kickboxers. I mean, LeBanner's one of the best of all time. And what I really liked about Roberson is that he could strike going forward and backwards. So, when he was getting pressured heavy against LeBanner, he was really landing some nice elbows in close. He was really calm. He really wasn't, fearful of what was coming at him. And, Marshman, he has that nice skip-in jab. He really closes the distance pretty well. And he moves his head on the outside, but when he throws punches, he stops moving his head. So it's kind of like fake head movement a little bit. And I just think Roberson's going to be able to catch him clean with a straight right hand and then probably submit him with a rear naked choke or something on the ground. So I'm going to go with Carl Roberson by first or second round submission.
So next fight, we got 3 fights left. We got Jared Killer Gorilla Cannonier versus David Branch. And Guru, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, actually, I think David Branch is kind of underrated. I think a lot of people kind of, I don't know. They think that he's an average guy, but I really like David Branch. He always comes in with a pretty good style. He's really risk averse, but he dominates guys. I went back and watched that fight against Chris Jocko, and I thought it was close when I watched it live, but then when I rewatched it, I thought Branch was in total control of that fight basically the whole time. And, he's a pretty decent striker. Has really nice kicks, underrated kicks. He has a nice jab, good footwork. And recently, he's been really believing in his hands and closing that distance in boxing range and letting his hooks go. And, You saw how he knocked out Thiago Santos in the first round. He really rocked and hurt Chris Weidman. And, you can never take away his jiu-jitsu either. He's a black belt under Renzo Gracie for a long time now, probably like over 8 or 9 years he's been a black belt. So he has his own jiu-jitsu school, and he has really nice double legs, really nice timing on his takedowns, and he does a good job pushing guys against the cage. And I kind of think that's what he's going to do against Jared. I think he's going to get him against the cage, try to wear him down with knees, then eventually take him down and try to get a submission. But Cannonier, I mean, he's kind of had an interesting career. He's going to be fighting in his third weight class in the UFC, where he's a heavyweight, light heavyweight. Now he's fighting at middlegeweight. But when I was looking at him today, I mean, he didn't seem like he had a big size advantage over Branch at the stare down. So, but Cannonier's a good striker. He's legit. He has good head movement, really good cardio, good pressure. He picks it up. You saw against Jan Cutelaba where he kind of demoralized him with that, walking forward with his hands down. Cutelaba was kind of didn't want to throw anymore. So Cannonier definitely he's a bad motherfucker on the feet. You can't take anything away from him, and he's down to do anything because he's been fighting monsters. You saw him against Dom Reyes. I mean, he looks so small against Dom Reyes in there. So definitely is down to take some fights, and I think middleweight is his division. But on short notice against a guy like David Branch, I think David Branch is maybe not a serious threat to the title, but he's right around the top 5. So I think David Branch is going to go in there and be able to handle business and probably get a decision win there.
What about you, Kelton?
Yeah, I think David Branch definitely is a rightful heavy favorite here. So both times that Jared Cannonier has fought a really experienced guy in the UFC, being Glover Teixeira and Jan Blachowicz, those two guys kind of dominated Jared Cannonier in their respective strengths. Glover really dominated him on the mat, took him down. He was kind of a fish on his back, didn't really know what to do. And then Jan, being the good striker he was able to, Jan's a top 5 guy. He was able to go out there and dominate Cannonier, in my opinion. And then in his last fight, he was knocked out by Reyes, who, that's a guy who's climbing the ladder at a really high rate. Well, what I really think about the most when I think of Jared Cannonier is that really, really underwhelming performance against Nick Roerick, where he was kind of expected to go out and absolutely steamroll that guy, but he didn't really look that good, in my opinion. And, he's coming down to 185 here, and who knows, maybe that's the answer for him. But I think David Branch is just going to have all the tools for him. I think on the feet, even Cannonier being the decent boxer that he is, Branch knocked out Thiago Santos. I know Thiago Santos is a little bit of a glass cannon at times, but you don't just knock out Thiago Santos. David Branch is super experienced. He hits hard. I mean, he hurt Rockhold as well. I know Rockhold is another guy with kind of a weak chin, but still, I mean, if you go on and name the list of people that have hurt Rockhold in fights, I mean, it's an elite list for sure. David Branch is an elite fighter, and he wins this fight wherever it goes against Jared Cannonier. I'd like to see him go out and go play towards his strengths and take him down and try to submit him, because that's where he's really dominant, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. I think he wins it wherever it goes. David Branch is one of the more confident picks for me on this card. And if I'm going to have any more bets on this card, and I've gone all in already, I got a lot of plays on the line, but if I have one more, it'll probably be like the David Branch in the distance proper, David Branch points handicap, something like that. We'll see what happens, but I really like David Branch here.
Yeah, so I do have David Branch, but I do think that Cannon has a good chance. I think he's a live dog for sure. Sorry about my voice, allergies. But yeah, David Branch is serious. He's a top 10 guy. He's a really good fighter. He's very good grappler. He's so heavy on top. Big middleweight. He's good striking. The striking's looked a lot better lately. But Cannon's going to 185. This is the weight class he should have been at for a long time. He's only lost to good guys. He's only lost to Dom Reyes. He's only lost to Jan and Glover Teixeira. He won the third against Jan. That was a 29-28 that Jan won. And then Dom Reyes, Dom had a huge – he's still much bigger than him. And then Glover, which is, took him down at will. But, Cannon just, doesn't give up. He's not a quitter, man. I think on the feet is going to be really hairy, man, because I think David Branch is good striking, but I think Cannon's the faster guy. I think Cannon's more explosive. They're both athletic, but I think Branch needs to go out there and take him down, man, because if he doesn't, I think it could be a war in the feet. I know you talked about the fight with Nick Rotrick, but that guy popped, man. He was on steroids. So, I mean, his chin like held up for sure. I thought that Cannon dominated him in that fight. I mean, he kicked his ass, man. I don't think Nick had like won any round. I don't think he had any any like success in that fight at all. I just think his chin held up because he's on steroids. But yeah, I do think Ranch's gonna win, but I think the line's off, man. I think it should be like maybe like minus 200 maybe, because I do think Cannon's a good fighter. I know a lot of people are saying he sucks, he's a jobber. I think he was gonna beat Italy too, and I actually like Italy a lot. I actually bet Italy versus Marquez, but I thought Cannon was gonna win that fight, and I think Cannon can win fights here, man. I really do think he's gonna have win some fights at 185. So yeah, short notice, not the best, but hey, his cardio is really good too. That's one thing I forgot to talk about. Good cardio. He comes forward. He's a scrapper, man. He has a good chin too. So I'm gonna go David Branch. I think he's gonna win a decision. I think he's gonna go out there and take him down and kind of grind him out. But yeah, I think Cannon's gonna have to win some fights in this division. So next fight, we got a very close fight in my opinion. We got Chris Weidman versus Souza, and I'm gonna go with Guru here.
Yeah, this is a fight that I've actually been wanting to see for a long time. Probably I guess Chris Weidman's closer to his prime than Jacare, obviously, but I wish they did this fight in more closer to their primes because it would have been a sick fight, but it's still going to be a great fight, and Jacare was training for David Branch here, so he's not, taking this fight really on short notice. He's training for a fight on the same card, so he's going to be in shape. But against Kelvin, he gassed really badly. He gassed really bad, and it seems like he's starting to fade later in fights now as he gets older, and I think he's getting a lot slower, a lot stiffer on the feet. And, Weidman's a durable guy. He's a tough guy, and that single leg is serious, man. I mean, he could take down a lot of people with that single leg. And against Kelvin, Jacare, I actually thought Jacare showed a lot of heart in that fight because after the first round, he was severely diminished. He was really gassed out. And then Kelvin really beat the shit out of him in that second round. He dropped him. Jacare was falling down on his stool in between rounds. And then he came out in that third round. He was pressing the whole round, throwing big hooks. He landed a lot of shots on Kelvin in that third round. So he definitely showed a lot of heart. But I definitely think that if he closes the distance like that, his forward pressure that much, I think Chris is just going to take him down with that single leg. And I think that, even if Jacare gives him a little trouble on the ground, I think he'll just stand back up. And he's a Naga gold medalist. He's fought Damian Maia, which is a similar style. So I think that, Weidman, I think he's a safe play here. I think that he should get the win here. I thought against Kelvin, his striking looked pretty good. He barely got hit. He was landing a lot of front kicks to the body, a lot of jabs. I mean, he did get rocked really bad that one time. But other than that, he completely dominated that fight against Kelvin. And I think he's going to go out here and get a win against Jacare. I think he's going to take it by decision, and I think he's going to get more dominant as the fight goes on. So I'm going to go with Weidman here.
Yeah, what about you, Kelton?
Man, so when I went to the UFC event in Orlando earlier this year, I met a lot of fighters, which was really cool. But the only guy that really stood out to me, physique-wise, when I shook hands with him, man, Jacare. The dude, the size of that guy's arms, I mean, dear God. Jacare, no wonder he chokes the living hell out of everybody. This guy is so strong. I shook hands with him, and I felt like I was shaking hands with a different species. This guy's made of stone. He's he's a killer, man. I mean, I love Jacare. I'm a huge fan of the guy. I mean, put him up against anybody on the mat. I mean, arguably one of the top 3 best jiu-jitsu guys in the entire sport of MMA. I mean, we're talking that high level. And if this fight hits the mat with Chris Weidman, it's gonna be tough for Chris to avoid some submission attempts here. But what really Chris Weidman has going for him here is that wrestling background and that wrestling base. I think that's gonna pay dividends for him here, man. I think with his wrestling style, Jacare's jiu-jitsu, I think that's going to cancel out. I think these guys most likely are going to be striking for 3 rounds. I feel like Chris Weidman is probably the sharper boxer than Jacare. I feel like probably, I believe he has a reach advantage. I feel like he has a better job. I think he'll be able to, pick Jacare apart and land the better shots on the feet. But Jacare hits hard, man. Like I mentioned his arms earlier. I mean, the dude is built of brick, and he can really hit hard. I mean, I mean, that fight against Brunson, I know Brunson, he comes in with his head straight up in the air, but not a lot of people knock out Brunson. For the most part, that shit works for Brunson. It's really only these super elite strikers with really hard punching power. Jacare can hit, man. It's just a matter of, is he going to be able to hit Chris Weidman? Is he going to be able to hit him early when he still has, a lot of juice left in him before he gasses out? Because that's another thing. Chris Weidman probably has a nice cardio advantage here. I just kind of see this fight being a very close but kind of clear. I feel like every round will be close, but every round will kind of be, clear Weidman. Like, it will be close rounds, but yeah, Weidman probably got that. He outstruck him by like 5 or 10 strikes. So, most part, but I'm going to go with the younger fighter with more left in him. I'll say Chris Weidman wins a 28-29 or 29-28 unanimous decision.
Yeah, I got Weidman too. I think it's a close fight. I think they're both washed up. I don't think either of them's ever gonna, get a title. I don't think Weidman's gonna get the title again. They're both chinny. Weidman definitely has the better wrestling. I think he has the better cardio. He puts out a good pace. Striking wise, I think Weidman has a better striking, but Souza, has more power. I think, to those bombs. Close fight with Kelvin. I bet Kelvin, and I do think Kelvin won the fight. Obviously, I'm biased as I bet on Kelton, but yeah, I just think it's a good fight because both these guys are top 5, and we'll see what happens, man. Because I don't know if Weidman can take down Souza. That's the only thing. I do think Weidman's gonna win the fight, but if he takes down Souza, I'll be really impressed because Souza, has good takedown defense. He's a great grappler. I think Weidman's gonna beat him on the feet. I think he's gonna outstrike him. So yeah, I got Weidman by decision. I'm just short. So next fight, we got the main event. We got Derek Lewis versus DC, and I'm gonna go first here. And honestly, man, DC's one of the ghosts. He's a really good fighter. Doing lots of John Jones. Great grappling, man. Great striking. But I'm gonna go out with the upset here, man. I'm gonna pick Derek Lewis to get a 3rd round knockout. I'm telling you right now, like, everyone jokes around with Derek Lewis and like all this, and obviously, like, I'm not even betting Derek Lewis here. I'm just doing it because, I actually have him on DraftKings and it's a gut feeling, Like, I'm not confident in betting him. I'll tell you that right now because DC could definitely starch him, which, I mean, it could happen. But I think he's going to go out there and, kick his ass. And I think Derek Lewis is going to knock him out in the 3rd round. This is all just, like, shits and giggles. I'm just kind of like talking crap. Like, I'm not confident. I'm not betting, but I do have him on DraftKings, man. I got some good lineups, man, with him in it. So I really do hope he wins because I could be winning a lot of money on DK. But yeah, I said it today. I was like joking around, like, yeah, I might pick Derek Lewis, but yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm not confident, but I don't have a lot of dogs, man, on this card, so I'm gonna go. And my like theory here is like how he always wins his fights. He always wins his fights late. I don't think DC's gonna finish him early. I think he's gonna win, and then DC's just gonna get caught, man. Derek Lewis is a huge size advantage here. Obviously DC has a really good wrestling, but hey, I want to pick a dog, so I got Derek Lewis by a 3rd round knockout. What about you, Kelton?
Oh man, Daniel Cormier is gonna smash Derek Lewis here, man. This is a crazy mismatch. I mean, of course, if the casual fans' perspective of this fight, they're gonna go and say, "Oh, it's the my balls was hot guy. Let's look at his record. Oh shit, he's 9-1 in his last 10. He's winning fights. He's knocking guys out. He's only lost to Mark Hunt. He just knocked out Volkov, that giant ass Russian dude. But I mean, us hardcore MMA fans, we know the flaws in Derek Lewis's game. I mean, there's a reason we keep betting against the guy, but shit, man, he keeps fucking us over. I mean, that Volkov knockout still haunts me. Shit, the Travis Brown knockout still haunts me. Derek Lewis is a savage, and arguably, obviously he's not even in the top 300 most skilled MMA fighters of all time, but arguably he's the most dangerous MMA fighter of all time. I mean, talk about a guy who can end the fight at any second. Talk about a guy who can get his ass absolutely kicked for 4 minutes or 14 minutes and 40 seconds and still knock out a top 5 guy. I mean, the heart and toughness on Derek Lewis will never be in question. Even for his physique and for being a heavyweight, the guy has super underrated cardio. Like he can just go out and fight forever, honestly. But man, he's fighting the GOAT here, man. It's really unfortunate that he has to go up here against Daniel Cormier, who just knocked out the heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic. I mean, Cormier, talk about one of the best stories in MMA history. All the stuff he's overcame in his life, always being number 2 in collegiate wrestling. He was always number 2 to Cael Sanderson. And then being in MMA, he was always number 2 to John Jones. And now he's the double champ, whether he's really the double champ, because we know he didn't take that belt from John Jones. John Jones lost to himself. Daniel Cormier, one of the legends of the sport. And with that wrestling base in the last 10 years, he's really developed an amazing boxing game. I mean, he won the heavyweight championship of the world with his boxing, not his wrestling. So Daniel Cormier, one of the best stories in MMA in this past decade, one of the GOATs. I mean, he's better than Derek Lewis everywhere. I would agree. I mean, other than punching power and reach, I guess Cormier's got him beat everywhere, man. So if it goes past the first round, it's Cormier wins 100 out of 100 times. In that first round, though, I think Derek Lewis I don't see any third round KO or fifth round KO bullshit. I saw some guy bet Derek Lewis wins in round 5 by knockout. Good luck to you, man, but that's not flashing. Cormier's probably going to take him down early. He's not going to fuck with Derek Lewis. He's not going to try to strike with Derek Lewis, especially with Cormier's hurt hand. He's going to go out and take down Derek Lewis right away. And I mean, he's not going to stuff it. It's just a big difference in the wrestling technique. So Cormier all day, Derek isn't going to be able to stuff the first takedown, and from there Cormier is going to ride on him, make him gas out, beat him up, ground and pound, and probably a rear naked choke. So Cormier, late first round rear naked choke.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to agree with Justin. I'm gonna go with Derek Lewis by late 5th round KO. No, I'm just joking. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, that'd be hilarious. I mean, you have to give props to Derek Lewis even for just getting here. I mean, who would have thought that he'd be fighting for the title a month, like right before the Volkov fight? If I would have told you he's fighting for the title at UFC 230, I mean, what would you guys have said to me? I mean, I don't think anyone would have really seen that coming at all. But I don't know. I mean, he's like a weird story. I am getting a kind of like a weird feeling about this fight where like I can kind of see picture Derek Lewis, like, I don't know, like it would be kind of funny to see that sight, Derek Lewis getting the bell wrapped around him by Dana White, but I don't know, like I agree with Kelton though, man. I think that the takedowns, I think the grappling is a big difference. I mean, we saw Roy Nelson was able to take down Derek Lewis like over and over again, and I don't know. I think that if DC takes him down, and I think we're going to be able to see pretty quick if the fight's going to be competitive or not. Because if Derek Lewis is able to kind of like bench press him off like he did all these other guys, where he just pushes him off and gets back up, which I think is going to be like 95%, probably won't work. But if he's able to do that, it's stand back up. I mean, then at that point, it's like maybe DC will get a little bit nervous about the size advantage early, But I think as the fight goes on, too, especially like if it starts to get to the second and third round, I think that the pace is just going to really, really bother Derek Lewis. I mean, I haven't thought of none of the heavyweights that he's fought recently, Volkov, Francis Ngannou, they all kind of like taking pictures with him in the center of the cage. None of them are pushing a pace. None of them are getting in his face. So, I mean, Cormier is going to be pushing a pace on him, and I think that he's going to gas pretty quickly, but I don't know if he's going to be able to submit him with the rear naked choke. I mean, Derek Lewis is just one of those guys where he's like has like no neck, man. And I heard Daniel Cormier say he's going to try to armbar him, which I think might be kind of hard too. And if Derek Lewis gets on top of him, I think that might be his best chance to win, I guess. Or besides just a lucky punch, a knockout shot, is if he could somehow get on top. If DC does a stupid submission, you could maybe ground and pound him out. But I think that's a very low percent chance too. But I think maybe DC will win via, I don't know, ground and pound TKO on the ground, probably the second round. But I kind of hope Derek Lewis wins, to be honest.
Go
ahead.
One more thing. Shout out to Volkov for the worst fight IQ of all time when he called a timeout on Derek Lewis's behalf in that first round. Just awful.
Well, you saw Volkov was definitely fucked up, bro, because you saw him try to give his mouthpiece to Derek Lewis in the second round when he got knocked out. He didn't even know. It seemed like he had no idea where he was at that point. But yeah.
Yeah, I hope he wins. Obviously, I do think DC's going to win, but I just wanted to change it up a little bit. I know no one's picking Lewis, and I have him on DraftKings, man, so I actually do really hope he wins. I know Kelton has a big play on DC, but, DC is probably going to win. So, yeah, before we end this show, just want to say my only play, is 7 units on Stylebender, minus 330. And I want you guys to, plug in your stuff, say where we can find you on Twitter, and also say your plays one more time. So, Kelton, you go first.
Yeah, I'll spare you guys the entire list of all my plays because I went all out for this card, and I have quite a bit. But mostly, I went really big on Montel Jackson, Israel Adesanya, and Lyman Good. I had just a shout out. It's really disappointing. I should definitely mention it for this breakdown. It sucks that Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier isn't on that card because that fight was going to be absolute fucking fire. But I was big on Poirier there. I had him in a parlay with Adesanya, but unfortunately that got canceled. But yeah, I got Cormier as well, and I forgot to mention earlier. I'm also big on the Delima Adam fight to not go the distance. But yeah, man, you can follow me on Twitter at MMA Kelton. I'm down to talk fights with all you guys. I'm a huge fight fan, so I love talking fights. So hit me up. Don't be afraid. Go check out my YouTube channel. Me and Justin do a recap podcast on there. That'll be back for the recap for this card. So for sure, check me out, man. Appreciate it. You can check out my Bet MMA if you want to see all my plays. But that's gonna be it. Thanks for having me as always, Justin. And it was good talking to you, Jack. You're the man.
Yeah, dude. Invite me on here more often. I had a lot of fun talking to you guys today. It was pretty cool meeting Justin too. Actually talking to him for the first time. We've been talking on Twitter for a while, but
Yeah.
And I actually have quite a bit of plays. Like I told Justin, I actually just got some money came in, so I was able to make quite a few bets on this one. I'm trying to double up, triple up on my money, so I'm hoping that it's going to be a good night. But I have a 8 units on Montel Jackson, obviously, which is a lot of exposure there, but I'm really hoping he gets the win. And then I have a unit on Rogerio Delima to win, and I also have 3 units on Chris Weidman to beat Souza. And then I have a few parlays on there, a few props. So you guys can go check it out on my Twitter at Prediction MMA. I have the Bet MMA tips in my my bio. I don't want to go off of all of them. And then you can find me on YouTube on MMA Prediction Guru as well. So follow me on there, and hopefully we can do another show like this soon, and talk again. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. Shout out to you, and you'll definitely be coming back on. And yeah, and for everyone out there, let us know in the comments below who you guys got in the main event, who you guys got in every fight. And yeah, me and Kelvin will be back next week for UFC Denver. I like the card. And yeah, hope everyone catches their bets. And later, guys.
Thanks, guys.